This episode of Profiles in Risk is sponsored by Zywave. Insurers, brokers, and agencies are facing escalating risk and rising complexity. Only Zywave delivers a performance multiplier, equipping you with the tools to get risk right, unlock efficiency, and scale at new speeds. Find out more at 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝘀.com.
Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Cañas, and today I have with me Rose Hall, who has had a super interesting career in our industry. So this spring, we finally had the chance to kind of hang out a little at a couple different conferences, or several different conferences. And I was impressed by kind of the experience that you've had within insurance. So first of all, thank you for joining me today. How's it going?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Tony. It's I've seen you around. We've seen each other around for so long, and it was just fortuitous that we ended up having a chat and then ended up both going to the same dinner and sat next to each other. And that wasn't because we chatted. It was just kind of two engagements in the same week. So I feel like I got to know you in rapid style. It was fun.
You can count on 𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗃 to get the right people to
That's
dinners.
right. That's right.
So yes, that definitely makes sense. So you go to school for civil engineering, right? Not at all thinking you're gonna end up in insurance.
Yeah.
How did you end up finding your way to our industry?
So I've always kind of had an engineering mind, like very analytical. And the running joke is that my mom is a lawyer and my dad's a doctor, and they both forbade me from going to law school and medical school. And to this day, I'm still not sure whether or not that was a joke. They were like, you can't go to law school. Being a lawyer is terrible and it's hard and it's, whatever. And my dad's like, you can't go to medical school. And I don't even know if I was considering them, but to this day, I'm still like, were they joking, or is that how I really ended up being an engineer? But I love math and science, so I went for engineering. And I ended up in insurance because I did the typical thing, you do. I did my undergrad in civil, and then I really didn't feel like I knew anything. I felt like, I can't believe somebody's going to let me design a building. This is crazy. So I went to grad school and I focused in construction. So then I came out and started my career in construction, estimating, purchasing, pre-construction, project management, like your typical climbing up the ladder at a large construction company. I worked for Turner, which is the largest global construction company. And they've got a great program where they're like, yeah, if you've got potential, you do, you're here, you're there, you're there. And that's kind of how you get all the experience. And after a couple of years, I was invited to apply for a role in the risk management group. And I was like, risk management, what's that? Like, why do we have risk management? And I asked for advice from my operations manager when I did this. And he was like, well, I'll tell you this, if you go to risk management, you will likely never go back in the field. It's not right or wrong, it's just what it is. And I was like, okay, I think I'm going to say yes to this. So I got into risk management. So my role at Turner was to liaise between the insurers and the brokers and the operations of the people out there building the buildings every day, and help them understand how risk related to what they're doing every single day. So it was a bit of insurance-y stuff, but it was also making that practical to people who don't know anything about risk or insurance.
Yep.
Construction makes 2 to 3% profits on their jobs, and they take a tremendous amount of risk. So little did I know, but I found out pretty quickly that risk management is super important. Otherwise, you're just not even retaining those profits. So I spent 4 years in risk management, and then I worked for a consulting company doing some expert witness work for a few years. I spent 4 years on a very large litigation, so I got to see what happens when it goes the other way. And then AXXL called and said, do you want to be a risk engineer for our construction business unit? And I said, no. I said, I just spent 4 years on the opposite side of the V from an insurer, and you guys don't seem like you play very nice. And they were like, no, you come over and give it a shot. And I was convinced by all the great people that worked in the construction business unit. I mean,
that was during the Just Ingress and
𝗫𝗫𝗄𝗃.
Yes. Kind of a rock star leadership team.
Yeah.
At
And
that
it
time
showed.
at Construction.
It showed really, really quickly. And I was like, yes, I want to be a part of this team. I want to help manage risk from the insurer side. Now that I've done it from the client side, I've done it from the expert side. Now I want to go do it from the insurer side. And from there, I did risk engineering for a few years, but I really quickly listened hard to the clients, and they wanted more than just your typical risk engineering type of surveys from us in this new modern age of innovation and technology. So Gary and I developed the head of innovation role, and we started helping clients innovate how they're managing risk. And that's how I got into tech and insurtech and that sort of thing. So yeah, I left AXA at the end of last year, and I'm out on my own doing some consulting. Consulting for insurers, for MGAs, for insurtechs, trying to bring brilliant innovations into the wild. And looking around at the industry and trying to figure out where my next forever home is going to be.
So the consulting that you're doing now, is it a lot around construction?
No, it's not. So I worked in construction, head of construction innovation till I guess 2021 or 22. And then the chief underwriting officer at AXA XL said, hey, the programs that you built in construction, like what you did with that role in construction, really compelling. Let's do that let's scale that for the rest of the business lines in the Americas. So then I was promoted to head of innovation for all the Americas. So I ran the same innovation programs for construction, environmental, property, casualty, inland marine, terrorism, fine art. I always miss a couple when I try to list them all, but yeah, so then I got much broader in the last couple of years of being at AXA XL, and I got those programs to be business as usual, and then they were no longer innovative.
Right. So at that point, you kind of transitioned from construction risk management to general insurance innovation. Is that kind of the focus now?
Pretty much, if you take it end to end, yeah, pretty much. It kind of evolved like risk management, and then all this technology started coming out, and clients were asking, well, how do I use tech to better manage my risk? What are my peers doing? What's actually useful and what's vaporware? Where should I spend my money when it comes to tech and innovation? And how are you, my insurer, going to look at me differently if I'm managing my risk through a piece of technology? Like, how do we? So the work that I did with our clients was help them find the right technology for their businesses that would help them reduce risk. And then I'd go back to the underwriting teams and I'd say, hey, let's reevaluate how we're assessing their risk, knowing that now they're doing X, Y, and Z that they weren't doing before because these technologies didn't exist before. And can we look at their risk differently from an underwriting perspective? Give them better terms, rate holds, lower collateral, lower deductible, something, safe drivers, save 40%, if you will. So that's basically what I did for the last couple of years at AXA.
Okay. How was the moving from innovation for construction to innovation for all the other business units? Did that require a completely different way of thinking, or was it just expanding what you were already doing?
It required a tribe, really, because when it came to the technologies and innovating in a business that I knew, like an industry that I knew, like construction, I've been in that industry my whole life. So I was the subject matter expert along with the leader, right? But when I transcended construction and came to the other business units, I was the leader, but I was not the subject matter expert. I don't know anything about fine art risk, right? So what I did was I built a team of ambassadors within the organization. And I said, who wants to be a part of this? Because somebody needs to teach me something about fine art and terrorism risk, right? So I enlisted, a volunteer army, if you will, of ambassadors for the work that we were doing. And they were in their respective business units talking to their clients and bringing back information on this is what the clients want, this is what the market needs, this is what helps us protect our risk, so and so, and then we'd find the right technologies to meet that need. And I'd be more of the less the president, more the chairman, if you will, right? And I would delegate that remit to the experts who knew it best and who were actually sitting there having the conversations directly with the clients.
Okay. And it sounds like from the very beginning, we were always very focused on building around the client's actual needs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point because a lot of people who just see head of innovation, they think I'm responsible for technology systems, infrastructure, enterprise, business architecture, operations. And I get a lot of calls like, hey, can I talk to you about your policy admin system? And I'm like, no, you can't because I don't know anything about that. The role was developed from me being a risk engineer in construction, working with the underwriters, and then going to being head of innovation, also working with the underwriters. So it was, and I reported up to the chief underwriting officer. So if you look at a hierarchy of an insurance company, you've got, you've got underwriting, you've got claims, and you've got operations. Instead of reporting to operations and thinking about our own technology as an insurer, I reported to underwriting and that allowed me to stay hyper focused on the client.
Okay. So what about the consulting work of last year? What type of things are you doing?
Yeah, it's been fun. It's been a lot of new techs and insure techs and contechs coming out of the woodwork and going, hey, I have a great idea. My tech works brilliantly, but I don't know how to get it into the market. And so in my mind, I think of that as still innovating because I'm looking at all these techs. When I was at AXA, I looked at over 800 technologies. We interviewed in detail more than 300, and we partnered with about 50 to 60, only about 30 to 40 at any given time. Right? So I have a lot of experience looking at these technologies. And so now that I'm out on my own, I'm looking at these techs and I'm going, okay, that one's gonna be gold, that one's gonna fail, that one's gonna and I feel that how I'm contributing now is I'm looking at the ones I want to work with and I'm going, how can I help them get into the industry? How can I help them solve a customer problem? Their tech works brilliantly, but how can I help them communicate what problem they're solving to the right customer at the right time to solve the right problem, right? So it's a lot of go-to-market, product market fit, stuff like that.
All right. So what do you want to do going forward?
I don't know, Tony. I don't know. There's so many different things. I get excited about a lot of stuff. You can tell I'm pretty passionate, right? I get excited about solving complex business problems. I get excited about creating new ways of doing things, inventing things, and innovating things. I get excited about creating new opportunities, finding new opportunities that you maybe didn't see was there, right? So it's been a bit of a journey because I've explored so many different roles. It's not like I came out of school as a risk engineer and started as an engineer and moved to a project manager and then any, executive project manager and blah, blah, blah. There's no linear career path for somebody who's done construction, risk management, insurance, insure tech, so I'm a yes person. I'm just people have said, hey, do you want to talk to me about it? Sure. Let's talk about it. What I'm looking for is a compelling role where I can have impact and influence and work with great people. That could be engineering, that could be insurance, that could be tech, that could be, it's almost, I'm open, but what's most important to me is working with great people who have like mindsets that want to do big things. And there's an opportunity for me to really help influence, help have some impact.
Okay. Makes sense. Awesome. So it's such a different career as you were pointing out, partially because of where you came from before insurance, and partially because of getting such interesting opportunities at AXA.
Yeah, I had great executive support at AXA. I mean, the 3 roles I created for myself would have never happened if I didn't have somebody above me going, yes, I will push that up the chain and we'll get that approved. I mean, you can dream all you want, you can have great ideas, but if the company culture doesn't match that, I was really fortunate. Gary Kaplan and Donna Nadeau was our chief underwriting officer. And she's the one who tapped me on the shoulder and said, I want you to build this for the rest of the business unit. And I was like, okay. Like she pulled me up. I didn't even push that one. And it's just, so that's what I mean when I say, what am I looking for? I want to work for a company like that sees something, hey, that's new. We've never done that before, but it's really working. Can you scale it? Here's some resources. Go scale it. That was fun. I'd do that again.
All right. Awesome. Very interesting stuff. Thank you for your
Thanks.
time.
Yeah,
Always
appreciate
fun
you.
chatting with you.
Yeah. Well, good.